How close did the world just come to a diplomatic disaster under the Crimean Bridge? In the darkness before dawn, Russian security forces say they stopped what could have been the most explosive act of sabotage in years. Their target? The Crimean Bridge, a vital artery linking Russia with the peninsula, and a symbol of national pride and strategic control. According to Russian officials, 2 foreign military divers were found beneath the waters, caught red-handed as they tried to plant explosives on the bridge supports. These were not amateurs. They were equipped with advanced gear, remote detonators, and foreign-made explosives, and the operation showed clear signs of meticulous military planning. Preliminary evidence has linked the detained divers to British military intelligence. If that connection is officially proven, this night could mark a turning point in already tense relations between Moscow and London. The idea that armed agents from one major power could be caught conducting sabotage on another's territory is not just a throwback to the darkest days of the Cold War. It is a spark that could ignite a diplomatic firestorm. Had Russian security failed, the consequences would reach far beyond the collapsed steel and concrete of a damaged bridge. We could be talking about the sudden escalation of an international crisis, threats to civilian lives, tremors through global markets, and a new level of risk for anyone living in the shadow of global conflict. So, what really happened that night under the waves? Let's unravel the hidden motives, the international stakes, and the questions now echoing in capitals around the world. To understand just how perilous this incident was, we need to set the scene, where global tensions, military secrets, and the fate of the Crimean Bridge all intersected that night. Why would anyone risk everything to destroy this bridge? The answer lies in the unique power of the Crimean Bridge. This is not just any stretch of concrete and steel. It is Russia's vital artery, the only direct land route connecting the mainland to the contested Crimean Peninsula. For Moscow, the bridge is a symbol of sovereignty and triumph, constructed after the annexation of Crimea. Every day, it carries the flow of people, goods, and military supplies, making it a literal and political lifeline. Its presence underlines Russian control, while its vulnerability exposes fault lines in the region's stability. This bridge has already survived previous attacks and attempted sabotage. The ongoing conflict keeps it under constant threat, turning it into a magnet for covert operations and international intrigue. Every plot uncovered or foiled sends shockwaves through both local security forces and distant power centers, reminding everyone how fragile these connections truly are. To damage or destroy the Crimean Bridge is to strike at the heart of Russian authority and to challenge the security order of the entire region. That is why it is relentlessly targeted, and why every incident there instantly becomes a global headline. The stakes are immense. An attack could disrupt military logistics, cripple civilian life, and send diplomatic tensions soaring. Understanding its importance reveals why the bridge's fate is far more than the sum of its parts. It is a pressure point in a much larger struggle over territory, identity, and power. But what exactly happened during the latest failed sabotage, and who are the people willing to risk everything to try? Now let's break down the night of the operation and uncover the identities and motives of those caught beneath the bridge's shadow. This was no amateur stunt. Every detail of the operation was calculated to send shockwaves far beyond the Crimean coast. Russian security forces, backed by the Russian Navy, used sophisticated hydroacoustic surveillance to detect unusual activity in the waters near the bridge. What they found were not ordinary divers, but highly trained operatives moving with precision beneath the surface. Special forces moved in fast, intercepting and detaining 2 suspects right at the bridge's vulnerable supports. According to officials, both detainees are believed to be British nationals, each with a military background, one allegedly tied to an intelligence agency, the other reportedly a former member of an elite special boat service. The equipment seized at the scene left little doubt about foreign involvement. Investigators uncovered advanced explosives and remote detonators, all of foreign manufacture and far more sophisticated than anything local saboteurs might use. This was not just about blowing up a bridge. This was a message, a demonstration of how even critical infrastructure can be threatened in today's covert conflicts. The intent went beyond destruction. The goal was to shake public confidence, to make global headlines, and to show just how exposed strategic targets have become, even in a heavily militarized region. It's a warning shot to governments everywhere. No symbol of national strength is truly immune. But the stakes go deeper. If this kind of operation succeeds, or even becomes routine, it chips away at the fragile trust that underpins international stability. Every successful act like this is a step toward normalizing sabotage as a tool of statecraft, raising the risk of wider escalation and unpredictable consequences for the whole world. So how are officials and world leaders responding? And what new risks are ignited now that this incident is front-page news? Governments on both sides are now scrambling to manage the fallout. Let's look at the immediate responses from Moscow, London, and the broader international community. One failed act could become the spark for a diplomatic inferno. In the wake of the foiled sabotage on the Crimean Bridge, Russia is demanding immediate explanations from Britain and preparing to reveal what it claims is undeniable evidence of foreign involvement. Officials in Moscow are framing this not just as a simple crime, but as a flagrant breach of Russian sovereignty, a dangerous escalation in what they describe as a pattern of Western provocation. In statements to the press, Russian diplomats warn that this incident cannot be dismissed as an isolated event. Instead, they point to a troubling history. Years of growing tensions, covert operations, and military support from NATO countries to Ukraine. For Moscow, the attempted attack is a challenge that demands both diplomatic and strategic answers. Kremlin spokespersons signal that Russia is weighing a range of robust, possibly asymmetric countermeasures, though the specifics remain shrouded in secrecy. Across the globe, international experts are sounding the alarm. The consensus among analysts is stark. The world is teetering on the edge of a large-scale diplomatic standoff, with the potential for policy shifts and reprisals that could affect millions far beyond the Black Sea. The fate of the detained suspects has become secondary to the larger risk, a crack in the stability of entire regions, where retaliatory moves or new alliances could redraw lines in ways no one can fully predict. Western capitals, meanwhile, are on high alert. The possibility that Russia will take this case to international forums or release sensitive evidence puts pressure on governments from London to Brussels. The situation is volatile. One miscalculation, one hardline response, and the diplomatic temperature could soar to levels not seen in decades. As Russia signals that its patience is wearing thin, the specter of escalation looms over an already fractured world order. For ordinary people, these diplomatic battles are not just headlines. They shape everything from energy markets to travel security and international trust. The stakes have never been higher, and the outcome could set precedents for years to come. But with trust fractured and nationalist rhetoric rising, one question lingers. Can the world step back from the brink, or are we witnessing the birth of a new, more perilous era? If even bridges are no longer safe, what could be next? And who truly decides the rules in this new era of shadow wars? The answer is unsettling, and it matters more than most realize. First, this incident exposes a core lesson. Without transparency and independent verification, any nation can find itself reacting to rumors, half-truths, or deliberate misinformation. When the facts are murky, the risk of escalation based on misunderstanding or manipulation skyrockets. Strategic infrastructure, bridges, pipelines, communications networks, has become a frontline target. The attack on the Crimean Bridge is not an isolated story. From North America to East Asia, governments and citizens must now adapt to a world where hybrid threats can strike at a society's most vital arteries without warning. It is worth remembering that the world once came close to a diplomatic breakthrough. In spring of 2022, there was almost an agreement that could have eased tensions. But outside influence and shifting agendas derailed those talks, proving how easily progress can be lost and how quickly the stakes can rise when trust evaporates. Today, international law and mutual restraint are more crucial than ever. If incidents like these are allowed to spiral, if nations retaliate without clear evidence or abandon due process, the result could be open conflict, with consequences that ripple far beyond the original actors. The greatest risk is not just the threat of sabotage itself. It is the possibility that, by failing to learn, societies become vulnerable to manipulation, miscalculation, and decisions that could cost lives, stability, or even peace itself. So, what can you actually do? And why does this matter to you, right now? Let's break down the concrete steps individuals and communities can take to stay informed and resilient in a world of hidden dangers. When lines are crossed in the shadows, only transparency and vigilance can prevent disaster. The attempted sabotage of the Crimean Bridge is not just another spy story. It is a warning signal, echoing through capitals and newsrooms, that the invisible battles of today can quickly spill into our daily lives, threatening the stability we often take for granted. This incident shows how a single, foiled act can shift the balance of power, spark diplomatic storms, and expose the vulnerabilities of even the most critical infrastructure. But what happens next depends not only on governments and their secret agents, it depends on us. If we turn away or blindly trust any official narrative, we open the door for escalation and manipulation. The stakes are not just political, they are personal. Economic fallout, heightened security measures, and the specter of wider conflict can reach far beyond distant borders. That is why your demand for facts and oversight truly matters. In moments like this, public scrutiny is not just a right, it is the last line of defense against misinformation, cover-ups, or unchecked retaliation. By staying informed and questioning all sides, you help ensure that transparency triumphs over secrecy. The world is watching Moscow and London, but global repercussions could follow. Will this become a catalyst for new diplomatic rifts, or drive a push for international accountability? That depends on the vigilance of citizens everywhere.